With the NBA season wrapping up in just a demoralizingly boring way.
Buzzer beater, buzzer beater, buzzer beater.
And with the NCAA women's basketball tournament having such thrilling storylines and some of the best viewing that women's basketball has seen, actually the best viewing that women's basketball has seen, you might want to see more from those characters. So I present to you the NBA Fan's Guide to the WNBA. So let me give you the rundown. We're going to very simply start by the obvious differences. You look at the court, you look at the clock, and there are some key differences here between the WNBA and the NBA. Secondly, we'll look at what might not be so obvious. The pace of the game. What play styles are we to expect? Or is there any statistics that stand out more in the WNBA and the NBA? Or is it just so much worse statistically, the WNBA than the NBA? Taking into account those key differences that we will have previously mentioned. And lastly, I will explain to you why this season is the season to get into the WNBA, despite everything I have previously said. Alrighty, so let's tip this video off, and oh my god, that 3-point line is closer. So yes, if you are an NBA fan, the first thing you will immediately notice is that the WNBA 3-point line is a steady arc, and it does not have those corners. The WNBA 3-point line is a steady-ish 22 feet, 1 3/4 inch from the basket. However, those international basketball fans of you will be quite familiar with this, as this is the FIBA-regulated 3-point line. Alright, so now that we've pointed out that difference, let's continue on with the game, and oh my god, there's already less than 10 minutes left. And here we see another one of the obvious differences. Instead of 4 12-minute quarters, we have 4 10-minute quarters. Now, you should keep this in mind while watching the rest of this video as we go over some of the more nitty-gritty later down the line, due to the fact that the pace of the game is very similar, still having a 24-second shot clock. Now, the super keen eye of you may have thought I missed something, but I didn't. The WNBA ball is an inch smaller. I don't know what the dimension is. Not gonna lie to you, don't know if it's diameter, circumference, but it's an inch smaller. I could very easily Google, actually, you know what, I am going to Google, how do you measure a basketball? Oh, it's circumference. It's a circumference. Inch smaller in circumference. Now, let's zoom out to the WNBA regular season. The WNBA only plays 40 regular season games for each team compared to the NBA's 82. However, the WNBA has had the in-season tournament for 3 years. That is longer than the NBA, who had their inaugural in-season tournament this year. The WNBA does only have 12 teams. However, they decide the playoffs, and some of you Western Conference folks may like this, by the top 8 teams in the league. Now, I say Western Conference if you're in the NBA. If you're in the WNBA, you guys' Western Conference is a little less better off, but still good. I mean, you Western Conference folks had the WNBA champion last year in the Las Vegas Aces. Alright, now with all of the basics covered, let's get into some of the nitty-gritties. Let's get into some of the numbers, some of the play styles, some of the finer details. Now, some of you stat heads would like to know that I didn't just compare points per game and points per games between the leagues, because they're not same game. Different game. Different game. You have to do points per minute, stat per minute. That's what I have done here. Now, fair warning, I'm going to throw up some scary numbers for you guys on screen. Pow! Alright, now, as you will see, per minute, they're pretty close to each other. The WNBA is probably a little less, but there are some other factors that go into account, like less possessions per game and stuff like that, because the pace per game, and I found this very interesting in the WNBA, is very, very, very similar. The average possession in the NBA lasts 14.5 seconds in this regular season. In the WNBA last season, the average possession lasts a whole 14.8 seconds, a whole 0.3 seconds longer. However, again, with shorter quarters, same shot clock, you're going to have less possessions. It's going to mess with the stats a little. The only major statistical difference between the NBA and the WNBA is that in the NBA, 39.5% of shots are three-pointers. Now in the WNBA, it is 32.3% of shots. Now, if you're like me and you like more of the mid-range and up-close game, that's a good thing. But if Steph Curry's your guy, Steph Curry's your guy. I respect that. He's changed the league. We'll get back to this. We will get back to this, but I assure you, do not be discouraged. Now, I would be lying to you if I did not include that, yes, there are less massive dunks. There are less off the backboard blocks. There, in fact, are probably none of them. But, if you are a Steph Curry fan, yes, this came up much quicker than I was expecting it to, you don't really see that anyways. We have fantastic NBA players that just don't really dunk. So if you're a fan of a lot of point guards right now, the WNBA isn't going to be awful to watch. Alright, now let's address the real reason everyone's here. Caitlin Clark. There are certain players in NBA history who have absolutely revolutionized the game. I'm thinking LeBron James, I'm thinking Steph Curry, I'm thinking Michael Jordan, I'm thinking Wilt Chamberlain. And Caitlin Clark revolutionized all of women's basketball already with her performance in the NCAA tournament. And to be quite honest with you, this will likely continue into the WNBA. I will never promise that a rookie is going to change the league, but she's a pretty sure bet. We've seen glimpses of it in her preseason play with the Indiana Fever. We've seen her use her gravity on the pick and roll to dish it down for an open mid-range or down on the post. We've seen her use her handles to create space so she can get the open three. And we've just seen her knock down deep threes like she did in college. There are things about her game that are going to need to adapt to the WNBA. This is a more honed group of athletes than the NCAA is. But she was the cream of the crop in the NCAA in a very talented class. So all I implore you is all the numbers I showed in a year will likely be very different. I'm not saying it's going to be Steph Curry, where we're now shooting 40% of the NBA shots from beyond the arc, but we'll see the game shift. We will see younger players take after Caitlin Clark, take after her game. So get on the train now so you know what to expect in the future. Because even if it isn't Caitlin Clark, this draft class showed so much talent in the NCAA tournament this year. There's a reason why Final Four games and the championship games were so viewed. It was a moment to watch for basketball, and I encourage you to continue to watch their journey into the professional sport. Now, you know what you need to know. If you would like to know anything else about the WNBA, leave it in the comments below. If you would like to see more videos like this about the WNBA, some videos about the NBA, or heck, some videos about the NFL, please subscribe, like, share this with those who you want to watch the WNBA with, and I will see you at a later date.